put this together in so many ways. So, and what I'm going to do too, a lot of our elected officials are going to speak. So I'm going to skip introductions because I'll introduce you when you come speak, as well as some of our other city folks. So first, let me just say, we're here to break ground on the International District Library. That's awesome. Cheers. And I will tell you, you know, once upon a time, when I was a state senator, on the way out, I put money into this project. So I'm very glad to see it now being used. We've prioritized it. This is one of our $70 million worth of projects that we've pushed forward. And we said we are going to get this done, and we're going to do it even sooner. And want to remind folks, roughly $17 million project around there, 15.5. It depends on all the different AMAFCA stuff and other things around that you're going to hear about. But you can see the beautiful look and feel that our architects have put together behind here. Reminder that libraries are much, much more than books. Libraries are community centers. They also now, with all things distance and downloading, they fulfill so many things in our community. But I think most importantly, this is a gigantic investment in the International District. This is the biggest project, at least, that most folks can remember. I want to begin by saying also a little homage to Caravan East. We are here at Caravan East. I was socially distancing, hanging out with my dad, kid you not, yesterday, and he was telling me stories of how when he was single, he'd come down to Caravan East. And he'd eat at Ned's El Portal before and have a couple of Boilermakers and walk across the street and go dancing. This was in the early 60s. Anyway, and I probably did the same, although Ned's wasn't around, back when I was single 12 years ago. So we miss Caravan, but the community that is going to be built around this community center, of course, much, much different and much, much far-reaching than just fun dancing at night. So we're here to celebrate a new generation, a new chapter in all of our lives, those of us who are here and in the International District, and in our city's general Route 66. We've got now a beautiful library at one end, and we're going to have this one at this end as well. So a couple of things to touch on. Number one, folks who we're going to hear in a little bit have all advocated for this. So whether it was Representative or Senator Mimi Stewart, whether it's our representatives Nancy Burse and Charlie Bennett from their neighborhood capacity, our new county commissioner, our other House reps who are going to share a few words, 2 rounds of city councilors have all been involved in putting this together, and we are going to get this done. So a couple of things. I do want to mention we have made a decision to temporarily close all libraries because of Corona. But of course, we are looking to the future, right? By the time this thing is done, hopefully, right, all our libraries are going to be open, and we're going to be able to celebrate this right in step with both public health and our community needs. And so I also want to thank the neighborhood leaders who've been fighting for investment in this community for decades. And whether it's here, fixing up Phil Chacon, whether we're out doing the medians on Central, adding streets and curbs in Trumbull, adding lights in the International District. This is just another piece of the puzzle of redirecting literally tens of millions of dollars to underserved neighborhoods in Albuquerque, including the International District. So let me mention a couple of other items before we begin with our guest speakers. I want to mention that inside this facility, you're going to hear more about it. There's an amazing story plaza that tells stories, even like the one I just shared about Caravan East, but around the diversity and why this is the International District. There's also going to be plenty of community space for all sorts of storytelling of all kinds, past, present, and future. And of course, we're going to have all the aspects of a modern library, including the computer access that is so desperately needed with respect to the digital divide that occurs even right here in lots of folks who cannot afford internet in their homes. So with that, let me do a couple of things. I'll sprinkle in some other thoughts as we go, but let me begin, I think, by teeing things off with some poetic remarks from our poet laureate. Our own Michelle Otero is here. So Michelle, we're going to tee you up, and then we'll go through. I know some folks have different schedules, so elected officials will be doing you next. Okay, let's give a round of applause to our poet laureate, Michelle Otero.
Caravan East sign says, breathe in this moment. We break ground in this place where we cumbia'd to Al Hurricane, two-stepped to Glen Campbell. Breathe in this moment when we stand together by standing apart, holding our touch for another time. We break ground in this place of ghosts, strong souls spiriting us across oceans, whispering stories in wind. This ground of sawdust-covered floors, this ground, alluvial plain off the Sandias, where roots of corn, bean, squash, compact under asphalt, converge on Route 66, journeys beginning or end or just passing through. We break ground to say, stay, sit with me, tell your story. Journeys across states, over continents, through cloud and ocean, converge here in La Mesa, made of books. We breathe in this moment, break ground, break bread, pho and fufu, fry bread, fideo, ashak, and arroz con pollo. In this moment, we stand together by standing apart. My mask is your shield, your mask is mine. It won't always be this way, and so we break ground to grow something new, build from seeds planted before we were born. We water shoots pushing through concrete, grass through sidewalk cracks. We are geranium in a coffee can, all colors of sunrise, coming over Sandias, welcoming us home. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle. And I, even hearing that, just think of everyone's front yards that I used to visit door knocking, and Mimi's plant collection, which I still have one of her plants that she gave me. And I think too, Glen Campbell has like an Albuquerque song, so we should probably give that some shout outs too. All right, so let's begin by hearing from our city council president, happens to be president right now, but I think in this context, more importantly, picked up the mantle from Councilor Garduño to see this through. And so the city councilor for the International District, Pat Davis.
Thanks. Yeah, it's our quarantine mustache. Thanks, Mayor. I don't know who thought it was a good idea for me to follow Michelle, but let's not do that again. That makes it a lot harder. But it is sort of a bittersweet, strange way to do this. But man, is it good to finally be throwing some dirt over here and getting something done, right? As the mayor said, I came into this city council term, or this city council seat, inheriting a very big promise to this community and a huge network of folks who really had worked hard to get this done. When we started, it was about half funded, thanks to our legislators and city voters and community organizers who helped, but it didn't have a home. And when we saw the historic Caravan becoming vacant, we saw an opportunity not to create another place of a dilapidated building in this neighborhood, but to create the place, the home that we have been looking for, as to be the catalyst for the redevelopment of this city, or this part of our city. I want to give a lot of credit to the mayor. When he came in early on, he said, look, I was a senator in the International District. I want to look at projects that we don't piecemeal there. I want to make a difference. I want to start investing in that neighborhood. Let's work on a few of those projects. So we finished the Zuni improvements for pedestrian safety. The mayor put new CDBG money into Trumbull for new lights and new streets. And this was the biggest unfulfilled promise when we both started. Last year, the mayor and I sat down and said, let's finish this project. We agreed to work together with our legislators and our colleagues at the council to put the last millions of dollars into the city's bonds to ask voters to give us the approval, and they did it. And so we're here today to get started on a project that is way more than a library. This is a hub and an open door for immigrants and refugees who call this neighborhood their very first American home. It is a place that, as Michelle so well articulated, is far more than a place for books. It's a cultural center. It's an identity, and it's a catalyst for redevelopment on East Central. We couldn't say enough about our legislators for more than a decade now, for some of you, putting money in on the promise that one day we would build something led by this neighborhood and this community. And so I can't say enough. I see a few folks. I know Juan from the Asian Family Center. They have been amazing as our partners here. Enrique somewhere from IDHCC and organizers in the neighborhood. Obviously, Nancy and Charlie from La Mesa, Plaza. And I want to, Pete Boletto, our new District 6 Neighborhood Coalition President, is here with us to represent our neighborhoods. Couldn't be more excited to finally be getting started on this and to bring life back to this part of East Central for all the promise and opportunity it's going to bring for our neighborhood. So thank you to everybody for chipping in.
Okay, now I think what we're going to do is hear just briefly from our representatives and senators, and then we're going to get to the nuts and bolts of this project, to Shell's team and what's really going to happen inside and so forth. So let's begin in no particular order, but just some because of scheduling. Let's begin with Representative Cheryl Williams Stapleton. Representative?
Thank you. Good afternoon. Yeah, my schedule is taking me to deal with some issues with education in about half an hour. So I'm glad to have this opportunity to be here today with my neighbors and with all of the advocates who has been working very hard to make this become a reality and become successful. When we first started putting funding to this and my first set of $100,000 was cut, I was really disappointed, but I am very excited today to be here on behalf of all of our constituents to make sure that this go forward and to make sure that we continue to support issues and revitalization concerns in our community, and especially for the International District, and especially for La Mesa and its children and all the surrounding schools that exist in this neighborhood in regards to having a library located here where Caravan East was located. It makes a great difference in terms of education and books and reading and the opportunity for all of us, not only for our children, but for our senior citizens, for our elders, and others who would be coming to this library. And yes, we have done our part as legislators. We will continue as legislators to make sure that the finishing touches take place, not only with the library, with all the other components of what the neighborhood needs. And I thank you very much for having me here today.
We're going to hold you to that.
That's right. He's got some more capital from Cheryl. Woo! All right. Let's hear from our, she's been a representative, now she's in the Senate, and also gave me a plant 10 years ago that is still in my house. Mimi Stewart, come on up, Senator. And the whip. I forgot, Majority Leader, whip. All right. Got it all.
Well, thank you, Tim. It's kind of hard to be here and not see people's faces. You know, I'm laughing and smiling behind my mask. You are too. But wow, what a ride this has been. So I danced at Caravan East. I'm trying to remember when it was. Certainly wasn't since I was in the House and now the Senate. So that's 26 years before that. But I had a good time here. Great bands. You could two-step all over that place. So I am really proud that we're doing this International District Library here. I'll let you know something. Those of us who live and work and love the International District, we have often felt like we are forgotten, that the city forgets us, the county, the state. It is an area with so much potential because of the people that live here. I mean, the Asian community that lives here, the Black community that lives here. It's just a very diverse area. It has the second highest number of Asian residents in the whole state. I don't know how Mark Moore's got the most, but his district is the most. So, you know, it's often you read the paper, oh, it's where the crime is. My brother moved here 4 years ago. He said, I want to live in your district. Great. 3 stolen cars later, we moved him out. course, then we got Mayor Keller, and things have improved quite a lot. But we want, as a community and the multiple neighborhoods that make up the International District, to stop being forgotten. And this is one of the best ways that you can feel that in our neighborhoods. And the plan for it is so phenomenal. So a shout out to Ray Garduno, who really started it. I remember when Pat Davis said to me, "We think it might be at the Caravan." I thought, really? Yeah, but don't tell anyone. And that was like 4 years ago. So, you know, we've worked, we've discarded plans, and now we've got the money. Good thing we got the money before this session, because, you know, a lot of that capital is going to be iffy. So I'll give more capital once I get capital. That's going to be a couple of years. So it's really taken all of us, and I just want to thank so many of you all that have hung out in there with us. If you could take your masks off, I would recognize you more, but we can't do that. So thankfully, our community has come together. Thankfully, we have a mayor and a city councilor that believes in us. So right on, International District.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Senator, and just for your decades of dedication to this community, and in a number of roles, and it continues. Okay, so now let's see. I think we have our Bernalillo County Commissioner up next. Oh, let's stick with the House. Representative Sarignano, why don't you come on up? And thanks so much.
Thank you, Mayor. All right, what a great day for the International District in this community. I first want to thank all the people who worked so hard. I've only been representative for 4 years, but all the people who preceded me have done a great job, and now we're seeing what's going to happen. I see this library as the hub of the community, a safe place where our kids and our families can come and use computers and read and meet. And as a teacher, I think it's going to be a great place for our kids to do their homework. So I'm glad we're starting, and I can't wait for it to be done, and hope to see you back for the opening. So thank you.
Yes, wonderful. And we'll talk about that timeline, I think, here in just a minute. But let's also hear, we have a county commissioner who has just done a wonderful job stepping up. Maggie Hart-Stemmons, of course, was the commissioner for this area for a long time. And we needed a closer on this project. And so we're glad to have Jim Colley, Commissioner Colley, come on up.
Dreams. How many dreams were here at the Caravan East? How many got realized? How many got scared? How many things got built because of dreams? When Art Garduno went to sleep at night, he dreamed about a library in the International District. We have San Pedro in District 3. We have the San Pedro Library. We have the Ernie Pyle Library. We have the Erna Ferguson Library. This becomes the gemstone of the crown of libraries in Bernalillo County because of its placement in the middle of the community, symbolic, clear, strong reality that the rest of the community believes in this place enough to make a difference. And this library will do that. I love the renderings that are here behind me because they show big, wide, open windows instead of little closed, narrow security things. This is a community which is open to its reality, open to its culture, and glad to be here. Mr. Mayor, Council President Davis, thanks from the county to the city for the vision it took to be here and to do this. For we will be better in the work we do in this community because you have led the way on this piece of work, and we're very grateful for that. The county is going to be here. We are going to be involved. We do want it to work and work well, and we're going to do that with you. Thank you for your leadership.
All right, excellent. Okay, so let's do, I want to just also thank MAFCA. They played a key role in this. If anyone's here, wave your hand. If not, shout outs. Appreciate you. They put in some money in this and have actually a key role. And then also the voters, right? This is part of the GO bond. And so thanks so much to the voters for approving this. And with that, let's get really to, the woman of the hour. This is a cultural services department facility. It's obviously a library, so Jim Smith has a big role here too. But Shell has I gave her a little nudge. That's all it took. And I said, we got to get this done. And her team, many of them are here, her deputies, thank you for making this, a reality. Something that when Ray Garduno told us, we're going to buy the Caravan East and build a library, I was kind of like, okay, a lot of people have said a lot of things. And Shell made it real. Come on up.
Okay. So there's a lot of people here that know a lot about how we got here, and actually this is like the smallest version of people collected that had something to do with this, because it's a lot of people. And I was thinking on my way over, reflecting on groundbreakings for the community mean, oh look, they're starting a project. That is so exciting. But we all know, and so many people that are not here today know, that actually the groundbreaking is the culmination of so much hard work. The hardest work is honestly behind us. And I'm grateful that I got to just step in on the last 5 inches. And thank you to all of the community members. Some of you have been working for this for 10 and more years, and legislators and city leaders and individuals just across this city. And so for a moment, let's just take a nice breath and look back at all the work we've accomplished. And I say thank you to the small version of people that are here today. Before we jump into the newness of building this project. So this is the 19th public library that we'll have in Albuquerque. The most recent construction was at the other end of Central, at Central and Unser, and I think that's beautiful for somebody who's grown up in the city, that we've got one over there and one over here on Route 66. That's really beautiful. And if you've visited Central and Unser and you love it, you're going to love this library even more. This library is going to be big and spacious like that one. It's going to have a beautiful community room that is a beautiful nod to the Caravan East. It's going to have hardwood floors in that community room, so sometimes there might be artists or writers presenting, and sometimes there might be dance classes. So some of you that are reminiscing, you'll have your moment in the new library. We're also going to have all-age classrooms in this building from the beginning. A lot of our older libraries, we've kind of improvised and created spaces to teach and have workshops, but in this space, that's built into the very beginning. There's also going to be a story plaza, which is really important. This is an important thing that came out of work that Mayor Keller invested in when he represented this district, in the work of Artful Life and UNM. So this is a nod to something that the community really wants to see here. So the story plaza will be an important part of this library. And of course, there's going to be a very beautiful children's space that's incredibly important. And this will be the home of our international collection of literature. And this will be a really important feature that reminds us why this library is here and who is here in this community. I know we've all talked about it. It takes so many people to bring a project to fruition. It takes all of the people that work hard to make it important, to find the space, to put the money in, many of whom are here today and many of whom couldn't be here. We really would have had 200 people here, and we wanted to, and so we invited last week a lot of people to come and take their photo on this site with us. So we can't all be here together, but we've all been here connected in spirit, and that slideshow will be available for the community. I also want to just say there's a lot of people behind the scenes. There's the architects. We already know that architects are involved, RMKM. There's also our library director, Dean Smith, who is here today. He's been shepherding this project since we first found out we could have the money to buy this land. And he's really had a hand in pushing it forward. It was honestly at a tipping point when we came in because so much thoughtful work had been done. But I tell you, it took everybody's hands to push it across the finish line. I just want to say there's also a private donor, the Friedman Trust, who's put $1 million into this library. There's not very many public construction projects that attract private donations of $1 million in Albuquerque, so we are very grateful to the Friedman Trust. The public library means a lot to a lot of people. You know, we of course think about books, but it's also a place that people create new skills, they learn their hobbies, they connect with the community, they find jobs, they apply for jobs, they find out how to connect to resources in our community, they bring their small children, or maybe they go there for some quiet time away from their small children. All kinds of things happen at libraries. And each day our library system, which really means our public librarians, our library staff, our professionals, they build and improve pathways to knowledge and information and ideas, and they ensure access to resources that are critical for our modern democratic society. Library staff work person to person, hour after hour with our community members of all ages and backgrounds. So for many of us that are here, libraries are one of our favorite places. But for many more people, libraries are absolutely an essential place for information and communication, community, and connection. So I am so excited to be here with all of you today. Thank you.
Okay, we are about to get ready to actually do our groundbreaking. A couple of items I want to mention. I was, talking about representatives, and I said Jim Smith instead of Dean Smith. That's because there's a representative, Jim. Well, there was. Anyway, but yes, Dean, thank you. So glad you're here. And then I wanted to save one last speaker, and I want to introduce our county treasurer. In this context, of course, her and her other half have been helping in all things La Mesa, which is this neighborhood here, for decades. And in fact, way back when, people came to me when I was running for the state Senate seat, and they said, we want a new brand. We want a name that represents the positive aspect of this area. And the community, as well as Enrique Cardiel, who's here too, they said they came up with the International District. A lot of people asked me where that came from. It came from this community. That's exactly where it came from. And specifically, tireless fighters for signage and naming and branding, Charlie and Nancy. But Nancy is county treasurer. We'd love to hear a few words from you as well as some neighborhood perspective. So our county treasurer, Nancy Burse.
Thank you. It's good to be here, and especially on this auspicious occasion. And yeah, I think we would have had 500 people.
I do too.
Mayor, not just 200, because it really does embody many different neighborhoods in this area. And May is kind of a special month for me and for lots of people here in the International District. Not only is it Mother's Day at the beginning, but then usually in the middle, and actually for the whole month, but we usually do it in the middle, is our Asian Cultural Festival. And we've had that here for, you closed Civic Plaza for a little while. There were some renovations and it came out here, and we've had a great time with it. And I've been a longtime board member of the Asian American Association of New Mexico. And as I've been sheltering in place, I really had time to think about some things, and really close to my heart was Mother's Day, because it also paralleled my mother's birthday. And my mother passed when I was very young, but she gave me this incredible, solid understanding of what you do for community and how you give back. And that really made me think about several women that have given to this community that really need to be notified and spoken about here. One is Alvin Clifton. She has already passed, but she was a dynamite leader. And boy, did I have a great time being under her tutelage. She was a fireball, and she had been doing it all her life. Another one is Bobby Jewell. Bobby took me under her wing here in La Mesa as a founding member of La Mesa Neighborhood Association, Community Improvement Association. She loved to say we're the CIA. And she was wonderful. But she was also an educator, and of course her family history with the Jewells, 2 Judge Jewells now, and unfortunately they couldn't be here today. The other one passed very recently, and is still very much in our hearts, and that's Deli. And Deli Encontro really put people together and made it work. She was the glue to many, many of us in keeping this going. So we give her all thanks. So I'm a youngin'. I've been in La Mesa for 21 years, and I was so glad to be able to know these original leaders here in the Southeast Heights, and for them to put their arm around me and say, come walk this journey. Let's go. So, let's go. Thank you.
All right, so that is probably the perfect segue to let me organize folks kind of behind us. I also want to mention, I'm glad you mentioned Deli. You know, almost all of us have been on the Asian American Association board because Deli, one way or another, roped us in. So her spirit is with us today, as well as those others. So what we're going to do, again, it's a little awkward, socially distanced, but it's a good tradition, and so we're trying to keep it up. We're each going to grab a shovel. So between Jesse or Johnny or whoever's organizing, why don't you tell the respective shovel folks which shovel they're supposed to be by, and we'll do that, and then we'll take questions after. Yeah, that's an insider joke, though. The head of founder of Bradbury went to let him know I got the joke. Okay, so let's do a countdown. We'll wait. Senator Stewart, ready?